All right, so I'm JT. We're doing a capital flow live training session slash walkthrough. The way that it's going to work is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to get on capital flow. I'm going to explain to y'all what every feature is, how they all work, what everything means, and then most importantly, how you can use it to make some money. And then we're going to see if we can use it to find a trade for the day. So we'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. All right, boom. So we're on Capital Flow, we're on the website capitalflow.app. I'm just going to kind of break everything down from top to bottom. So at the top, right there in the middle, you see we got those three boxes: overall flow, call premium, and put premium. So that's going to tell you the total amount of money that was spent on calls for the day, the total amount of money spent on puts for the day, and then it's going to give you the overall flow. So right now, we've got about 4.1 million spent on puts so far, 2.7 spent on calls. So obviously there's more money going into puts. So that means that the overall flow is bearish. So the overall flow is really useful because you can use that to kind of get a general direction of which side of the market you even want to be on for the day, right? Most of the time, you're not going to want to go against the big money. If you see a big money is bearish, you typically want to be looking for put setups. So that's something that will kind of just help you pick a direction between up and down for the day. But it's not always going to mean that that's the way we're going to be trending, right? There are certain situations where the put flow might be bearish, but the market still trends up. I'm going to talk about how you can kind of identify that. So if you look to the left, right below where it says overall flow bearish, there's a button right here, top contracts by premium. So you can click that button and it's going to give you a drop down menu. So these are the contracts that have had the most amount of money spent on them for that current day. And it'll update as things move on and, more money goes into more contracts. But this is really useful because you can look at the overall flow and see which direction people are spending more money on. But then when you look at the top contracts, you can see which contracts specifically a lot of that money is going into. And this is important because you want to pay attention to that expiration date, right? I said that just because the overall flow is bearish, doesn't mean the market is necessarily going to be dropping. And because you'll notice that the overall flow might be bearish, but then when you look at some of these top contracts, you'll see that a lot of the money is actually going into expirations or contracts that don't expire for another 6 months or for another year, right? So they're buying plenty of time on these bearish moves. They don't need the market to drop today, right? They can go one day of having a market green and they can still make a lot of money, especially if they're buying all that time. So typically, me as a day trader, I'm typically going to be looking for contracts that have short-term expirations, right? Like you see that first one right there is Meta 2025 calls. I'm not really paying attention to that. It's too much time for me, or like those CVX 2024 calls. I want to see things like those SPY puts that expire today, like those Tesla puts or Apple puts that expire later this week, right? Those are things that I'm looking for as a day trader. So we're kind of taking like a zoom in approach, right? So first I'm going to look at the overall flow, get my sense of direction. Then I'm going to look at the top contracts, see which short-term contracts are coming in, and then just kind of get an idea of some tickers I can look to trade. So below that, all the way on the left, you see we have a button that says filter by symbol. So you can use this to actually search for one or multiple tickers, right? So let's say we want to look at SPY, press enter, Apple, Amazon, Tesla. Right. So when you're actually searching tickers by symbol, you'll see we have another feature. When you search something, the top bot contracts specifically for that ticker are going to pop up right below there. So that's another really cool feature. You can kind of see where most of the money is going into the tickers that you want to watch specifically, right? So what this is going to do is it's going to show the orders that come through right here at the bottom. And it's going to just show you all the ones that you selected specifically, right? So if you only want to see, SPY, Apple, whatever you want to look at, one or multiple. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to cut it down to SPY, right? So over here, well, right below that where it says filter by symbol, you see it says premium spent is equal to or less than $2,500, or sorry, more than $2,500. So anytime somebody spends $2,500 or more On a SPY contract, you're going to see the order come up through the bottom. Now, the purpose of using options flow is to see what big money traders are buying, right? People that are spending millions. So when you know that there's people that are willing to put $5 million into a single SPY trade, that 2,500 is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. So what you can do is you click this blue button in that same box that says filter by symbol, and then you get the trade filters or the minimum premium filters. So you can select these and it'll show you anytime somebody spends that amount of money or more on a contract. So you can see 10K or more, 25K or more, 50K or more, 100, 500 or $1 million or more, right? So the way that you use this is kind of going to depend on the type of stock or the type of ticker that you're watching, right? There are certain tickers where you are going to want to use that smaller premium. Those are tickers that are not necessarily going to be traded a lot. They might not have a lot of money going into them every day, right? So people aren't spending millions and millions of dollars on some of these smaller companies when they're trading them. But that doesn't mean you still can't check the flow and get a good idea of where they're going. In fact, if you find a company that usually does not have a lot of money going into it, but you see on one day, like one random day, all of a sudden there's $500,000 orders, 250,000, 750, 500, $1 million, whatever. So you do see a lot of money. That's really one of the best ways to catch a really big move in options flow. It doesn't happen every day. We do have a member in the group by the name of Jesse. That's how he makes a lot of money. He just kind of watches a lot of those tickers that are smaller and don't typically have a lot of money. And he waits until he sees, 6-figure orders coming in back to back. You can make a lot of money doing that. So it all just kind of depends on, how you want to go about it. But for me personally, if I want to look at something like SPY, which is big, right? It is a big name. There is always going to be money going into SPY. I really don't ever have to go below 25,000 on the premium. I'm not going to go below 25,000. Some days I might go 50, I might go 100, but I kind of just start with 25,000. And if I can't get a clear idea, then I might cut out some of those smaller orders and go up. But for now, I'm going to start at 25,000 on SPY. And then over here on the right, so directly across from the filter by symbol box, you see we got a few buttons. We have all, we have unusual, we have weeklies, we have swings, and we have leaps. So right now it's set to all. So all is just going to show you every single time somebody spends $25,000 or more on a SPY contract. Doesn't matter if it expires today. It doesn't matter if it expires 2 years from now. You'll be able to see it. The unusual button is how you're going to be able to identify orders that are coming directly from institutions or, just these hedge funds and things like that, right? So the way that it works, and we have definitions, right? So you can see right here on this first order where you see SPY, it says unusual neutral block. So you can hold the block button and it will give you just a quick definition, privately negotiated orders. Those are ones coming from, institutions, and you have sweeps, transactions broken up into smaller orders. And then you have, see if I can find one. There's going to be another option on unusual that just says large, but that large order would just mean that they are over $100,000. So $100,000 or more, those orders are marked as large. But anyway, next to that button, the unusual button, you have weeklies. So this is going to show you contracts that expire within this same week, right? Short-term expirations. So if you're a day trader like myself, you're going to be looking for these weekly expirations, right? You're not really concerned when people are buying 6 months out. That's a lot of time. You want to get in and out within the same day. So you want to see contracts that expire within the same day or the next day or, that Friday, whatever it may be. Then you have swings. So swings are going to give you expirations that expire within about the next 5 to 6 months. If you want to hold something overnight, hold it for a week, hold it for a few weeks, then you do want to see the big money is buying, a little bit of time on their contract. So if you're a swing trader, you like to hold things overnight, you can use that swing button. And leaps are going to show you things that expire 6 months and farther. So me personally, I don't trade a lot of leaps because I am an active trader. I feel like leaps are more so if you're a little bit passive, right? Maybe you work a job, you don't have time to kind of check into the markets that often. That's where leaps are going to come in handy. So it just means you're going to be holding something for, a few months at a time, maybe up to a year. And that's really still that's a lot of way, excuse me, that is a really good way to still make a lot of money trading options, just by trading leaps. So, it's all just kind of a personal preference thing. I wouldn't say that weeklies or swings or leaps, I wouldn't say any one of them is better. For me, I just like to day trade. I'm a full-time trader, so I come into markets every day. I'm looking at the markets, so I'm trading every day. So I typically watch the weeklies, right? So lastly, I want to get into the components of these actual orders that are coming in real time. So this section right here is where you can see the orders as they're made, as they come in real time, right? So anytime somebody buys an order, this shows up here. So there's a few different columns here. I'll talk about them all from left to right. So over there on the far left, you have the time column. That's going to tell you the date and the time that the order came through. Next to that, you have the symbol. For now, I already have it set to SPY, so everything is going to be SPY. Next to that, you have the contract. So you get the strike price and the expiration date of the option contract that was purchased by big money or somebody else in real time. Next to that, you have the premium. And that tells you how much money they spent on that one contract. To the right of that, you have the price of the contract, right? So this one here at the top, it was $648. In other words, it cost $648 to buy one of those contracts. And then to the right, you have the size, which is how many contracts were purchased in that single order. So that's the components of, how everything works on capital flow. So like I said, now we kind of want to use this to find a trade. It's been a few minutes. The market's been open for a little while. So what I usually do is kind of zoom out, and then I'll take a zoom in approach, right? So when I say zoom out, I just mean kind of reset everything to the default, right? So, no symbol, minimum, the premium is at 2,500. So right now you're pretty much seeing everything, right? So we're going to check the overall flow. We do see that it is bearish overall, but it is still pretty close. So, it could flip pretty soon. I think actually the call buyers even caught up, because when we started this, there was even more separation. So within the last few minutes since we've been on here, it looks like call buying has picked up, but we still are bearish overall. When we look at the top contracts by premium, let's start with the first one. So we got some Meta 2025, Chipotle 2023. We do have some spot puts that expire today. We have some Tesla puts expiring this week. Some IWM calls. It's kind of mixed, I would say. There's some SPYs. It looks like SPY and Tesla short-term puts might be a good option. But we'll go ahead and check the chart just to see what they look like. Based on what that flow is saying, I'm assuming we're probably in a downtrend. Yeah, I'm still kind of in the opening range. So really, when you look at flow, you're really looking at flow to confirm either one of two things. Either that we're in a trend and we're going to continue that trend, or that we're in a trend and there's about to be a reversal, right? So the best way to really use flow is by combining it with your technical analysis. There are some traders that use flow and don't use charts or technicals at all. And, it might sound crazy, but it is still a good way to make money. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because if you see that traders are putting millions and millions of dollars into a trade, say as soon as the market opens right at 9:30, you see, boom, 5 million, 2 million, 250,000, all going into, say, SPY puts expire today. That tells you two things. It tells you there's a sense of urgency and the big money just wanted to get in as soon as possible. So when there's a sense of urgency, that means, that you can really expect a quick move, right? So those are times where, you might not even check the chart. If you see that they want to get in as soon as possible, that means that there was nothing on the chart that stopped them from wanting to get in that trade. So you can follow along. One thing that you do got to understand is if you're only following flow and you're not using charts, then your profit taking size is going to be kind of conservative. Remember, these people are trading with millions of dollars. When you're putting that much money into something, you're not trying to make 100%. You don't need to risk, all that money just to try to, double it, whatever. If you're making 10%, 20%, you're still making hundreds and thousands of dollars, right? So just kind of understand that if you're only following flow based off of the flow and not the charts, your profit taking is not going to be that high. And, so if you do want to kind of at least get 20, 25, 30%, I usually try to aim for between 20 and 30. That's when you want to combine the flow with the technicals, just so you can give yourself good targets, good exits, things like that, right? And especially me, like, I call out a lot of these trades that we do on here. And, if I call something out, I do want to at least have y'all make 20 to 30%, kind of at the least, right? So all that being said, so now what I'm noticing here on SPY, so this line right here, this reddish kind of orange line, that is my 200-day SMA on the 5-minute chart. You can see that it looks like we're rejecting it on this current candle. We rejected it during pre-market. We crossed below it last Friday. We closed below it. We sold off pretty hard, retested it again here during pre-market, rejected. We're retesting it again now. So this is what I talk about when I say trend reversals, right? We had 2 strong green candles to the upside, but you see that big money is spending a lot on SPY puts to expire today or later this week. So that's when I would look for a rejection, right? So we look right here. Ideally, I want to wait. This is just, me going off technical analysis at this point. So I already know what direction I want to play. I want to get in some spot puts. So ideally, I would wait for this candle to close. So I'll get confirmation that we close below the 200 SMA. That's if you kind of want to take a less aggressive entry, right? You could take an aggressive entry and just start to scale in right here. And then, possibly average down. But, again, that's kind of like a personal preference thing. Me personally, I'm going to go ahead and open up the order book. I'm going to go to SPY puts for today. And I'm going to grab these SPY 393 puts that expired today. So y'all can follow me into those if you want to. Again, this is based off what we saw on flow. SPY puts, I think it was 394, 393 puts that are being bought a lot for today. It looks like we're rejecting this 200 SMA pretty hard. So I'm going ahead and going into these SPY puts. No, I kind of said a lot. So as we kind of monitor the SPY trade, did anybody have any questions on anything I've said so far?
Were you looking at more 393 puts or 394?
I got 393s because I know some of y'all are going to follow me, and the 393s are just a little bit cheaper.
Oh.
Are there any more questions on anything about capital flow or anything that I talked about on the charts?
I don't know, how many people are doing this for like side hustles and like want to keep their 9 to 5, or how many people are like trying to do this to transition into full-time trading. But like, what's your process as far as like this being something that like you have to do to like eat every day? I know you have other stuff like Discord is kind of passive as far as like, but I know at first it was just the trading. So how is that?
So for me, I do have multiple businesses and things like that. But when it comes to business, I don't really look at that money as my money. I like to reinvest that. So the money that I make off businesses, it gets reinvested into ads or like, capital flow. I'll, hire a few new software developers to build out some new features. So I really like to reinvest my business money. Now, when it comes to trading, that is money that I look at as my money. So that's the money that I'm going to be living off of. That I use to kind of take care of bills or, buy clothes, shoes, whatever. So that's just me. I think it definitely, it does help to have some extra incomes outside of trading, because now I can kind of trade comfortably, because I do trade to take care of things, but it's like, I don't I don't have to solely rely on trading, right? I do have other things, and when everything is going well, then everything just gets reinvested. So it definitely helps to have other incomes, and that way you can kind of trade with a clear mind. Because if you have the mindset of like, if this trading thing doesn't work, then I'm not going to be able to eat, or I'm not going to be able to have anywhere to live. So that's just my personal opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Just a quick question. How was your chart set up? Like, as far as like, was that weekly or?
So
I'm
this
sorry,
is the, oh yeah, go ahead.
no, I was saying I didn't catch how your chart was set up, like, if it was daily or weekly.
This is the 5-minute time frame on SPY.
Okay.
So yeah, I like to use the 5-minute. 5 minutes is my favorite time frame when day trading. I do kind of cycle between like 15-minute or the hourly. For a lot of the scalps or quicker day trades that I do, I'm looking at the 5-minute chart.
Okay, so I don't know. Like I said, I'm still pretty new, so I'm using TD Ameritrade and Thinkorswim. So would that be 1 day 5-minute for me?
Right.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So I'm not sure if I said this on this call yet. I say this often, but so following big money is really useful, right? Because these are the professional traders. They have access to millions of dollars to trade with for a reason. It's because they're good. But at the same time, we got to understand that they are human. So they're not going to be right 100% of the time. But these are the people that are having 70, 80, 90% win rates when it comes to their trading. So if you're going to just follow big money, right, you're definitely going to win more than you lose. But don't expect it to be perfect every single day, right? There are times like big money is just wrong, and they can be wrong really bad, and they'll get smoked. But they're not concerned about the 10 or 20% of the time when they lose. And neither should you be if you're following them. So just make sure you do still use stop losses when you're following big money. Not everything is going to hit, but we do these calls a lot. And so if you're on these calls and you've been kind of watching capital for using it, then you definitely know that it is very powerful, and you are going to have a really high win rate just from following flow, but it's not going to be perfect. So keep using those stop losses either way.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So talk about what we're seeing here with SPY. So we have this 200 SMA to the upside, and then we have this VWAP, which is my purple dotted line, to the downside. So we're kind of just bouncing in between those right now on these last two candles. So I'm still looking forward to end up breaking to the downside. I really just need a break below that VWAP. It's testing that 200 again. So we want to see where this 5-minute candle closes. We've got a little bit under a minute. My ideal scenario being in puts would be for this 5-minute candle to close below that 200 SMA, and then we break below VWAP, either on the same candle or the next candle. So for anybody that doesn't have a capital flow account already, you want to get one. The website is capitalflow.app. For now, it is a website. The app is still being developed. And to be honest with y'all, I'm not really in a rush to get the app out, just because it's going to be the same information, whether it's on the website or the app. It's going to be the same amount of value. So my goal for now is not to switch the value over to a different platform or anything like that. I really just want to put the value in. I want to add more value, as much value as possible to the website, and then I'll worry about kind of getting that app out once we have a little bit more to work with there. So it's a website. It works great on desktop, on mobile, on tablet, whatever you have. It comes with a 7-day free trial, so you can kind of just test it out for free, see if you like it. I definitely encourage you to kind of use all those trading days that you get within that trial, because like I said, some days big money is wrong, but they're going to be right more often than they're wrong. So use it for all the trading days if you can. And if you're already in my Discord, which everybody on this call is, then you get a 15% discount. So normally it's $35 per month, but if you're in the Discord, that 15% discount brings it down to $29.75 per month. So definitely check it out if you haven't already.
Can you touch your ears?
Let's check back in. See if the call buying ended up picking up. Okay, yeah, so we did switch to bullish on the overall flow now. We are bullish now. So I'm gonna go ahead and check back in on this order. Really kind of just depends on where this 5-minute candle closes for me. We're still kind of sitting right there at that 200. So if we do get a close above that, that's when I'll cut the puts. But if we can still kind of reject that and move lower, let's stay in these puts. So this is kind of a pivotal level right here.
Should we do more eggs?
Okay. Coming back down. See if we touch that VWAP again, see what we do there.
This one has a seat. What do you think's inside? That's the thing. It's a seat open.
Another thing to understand when you're trading flow is just to have patience. You know, a lot of times you'll notice that big money is rushing in to buy something. You know, you see all those orders coming in one after another, but the market doesn't start moving yet. That can be the case a lot of the time. You know, you'll notice that it's taking a long time for the move to happen. You kind of get frustrated. You expected it to be quick, and then you'll see just on like 1 or 2 candles, the market will shoot in that direction that they were buying. So, you know, you got to have patience with flow. Just because they're coming in back to back and they do have a sense of urgency, doesn't mean that move is going to happen necessarily right away. But, you know, if you can see that they're positioning themselves for the move, then you can just go ahead and position yourself too and be patient, you know, kind of be prepared to average down on certain things. You know, these people are trading with a lot of money. They have access to a lot of capital, so they can easily average down if necessary. That's why I kind of like to scale into things. And then, you know, if we do end up taking a loss, the loss will still be pretty minimal.
Do you think he can trick you? What do you think is going to be in it that starts with E? They open. Oh, it's a little. Can you say hi to the color?
This 200 SMA / pre-market high is a pretty strong resistance on SPY right here.
All done. Eggs.
At 394, about 80 level, I got a 394.77 right here. It's a pretty strong resistance. We rejected it a couple times already. So really want to see if we can move lower from here. Can y'all mute your mics for me? Somebody is playing with their kids, I think. Thank you. Okay, so we did get a 5-minute candle close below that level. So let's see if we can start to move lower here. We got a couple rejections at that level already. Because this level is so strong, if we don't reject, if we do end up getting a strong move above that, I definitely think there's more room to the upside, in which case I'll stop out of these puts and possibly look to flip sides on that one. So we're at this level right here. So we'll see what we do. And this is why you got to use technicals when you're watching flow. It's huge. You see a lot of times puts get bought right at resistance levels, at levels that end up being strong resistance. So this is where a lot of puts are being bought. But we did see the call buyers kind of picking up a little bit. So it looks like they're kind of just in a pretty heavy back and forth right now between call buyers and put buyers. Somebody's going to pull away at some point, and then they're going to win. And then that's going to be the direction that we're going. The overall flow is bullish, but it's bullish by even, under $1 million, which is not a lot when you consider all of this money. So it's really kind of tied right now. So we just got to be patient and see who wins for the morning. But the bears are holding up real strong at this level right here. Yeah, 200 SMA is like a brick wall right now. We still even haven't had a candle close above it. We got some wicks above it. Price got above there, but all these candles, they close below it. So it's definitely still holding a strong resistance. See if we get this move right here. So on that rejection, on another rejection of that 200, I'm going to buy more of these. In other words, average into these spot puts. So I'm adding to the position right here. So my new average is 0.65 on these spot puts. Yeah, that was a pretty strong rejection. Let's see if we touch that VWAP again. And then I look for it to break below. It is really kind of undecisive today. A little bit of indecision. That's why you got to have some patience. But we're starting to move in the right direction now. And that's why you got to combine flow with the technicals, man. Because you see this resistance level, you see we keep rejecting it. So we're in puts. So I'm still feeling good as long as we're still below that level and it still holds strong as resistance. Kind of got a lot of things going on right here in this area, a lot of different moving averages and things. So my blue line, that's my 50 SMA. And then I have the 8, which is gray, and the 21, which is that yellow gold one. All right, so we touch VWAP again on SPY, which is that purple dotted line. So I really just needed to break below there. It's kind of bouncing for now. I expected it to bounce at least a little bit on that first test, but I'm looking for a break below VWAP. And then we can really start making some money on these puts after all this time. Give me that move. Give me that move. Off that rejection, man. I'm feeling good about this move now. That 200 SMA definitely did its thing when it came to keeping SPY down. Multiple rejections at that level / pre-market high. So I feel good about these puts. Now that we're back here sitting right at VWAP, these bounces are kind of weak though. So I think we'll break below VWAP here any second, and then we can get to some money. Y'all have any questions for me? Is this making sense to y'all?
Yeah, it's making sense.
All right, cool. I said, see how that VWAP held. So it looks like it might send us back up to that 200 SMA. So we're really just kind of in between VWAP and 200. So you can see that the call buying and put buying is even. The call buyers are getting picked back up right here. VWAP, we're getting pushed below back at this 200. So it's just kind of an interesting battle going on right now. That's the case sometimes. Sometimes you'll see some back and forth before somebody wins. Sometimes somebody wins right out the gate. You know, it's going to be a different scenario every morning, which is why I encourage y'all, you know, if you do get capital flow, you get a trial, you know, definitely make sure you check it every day of that trial, because every day, every situation is going to be a little bit different. So you can kind of learn a lot about how the market moves and, you know, what big money thoughts are. So it's always just interesting to see, you know. Overall flow is back to bearish, but it's still super close, within about 500,000. Still some spot puts as the top contracts, but we got a couple calls in there now. But as far as SPY, we got more money coming into these short-term puts than those calls. So I'm still feeling good about this trade. Okay. We bounced off of VWAP, but now we're all the way back. Okay. This is what we've been waiting for, y'all. This is what we've been waiting for. I need a bigger move to the downside. Once we get that VWAP up, we'll make some good money.
What would your first target be?
My first target, so I have this 100-day SMA right here, right? So that would be kind of a conservative target, but we are in same day puts. So, you know, these are going to move a little bit quicker. We're not going to need as much of a move to make good money. And then you could kind of just use the lower day or pre-market lows as targets after that. But typically with flow, I say, you know, I also like to use percentage targets. So, you know, I'm aiming to get at least 20 to 30%, 20% kind of being on the low side. But with flow, you know, I'm not looking to always necessarily stay in things all the way to the target, because I still keep in mind that I followed it based on what big money's buying. And, you know, with hundreds and thousands of millions, they're not looking to necessarily get all the money. They just need some of it.
Okay, that makes sense. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. All right, we're kind of breaking down. We're trying to break down here. That was another solid close on the 5-minute candle. We did close above VWAP, but it rejected pretty hard at this 200. Starting to break below VWAP now. So it's looking good for the puts. This one took a little bit of time this morning, but it's coming. Appreciate y'all for staying patient with me out here. You got to be patient to make this money sometimes.
Now I can ask
That's
you a
what, yeah.
question.
Yeah.
JT,
What's
That's
up?
true. Absolutely. Patience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was actually locked in with you on that one. You know, I was trying to do, I'm doing the 10% thing, so I got that. Now I can focus. I got a question for you. With
What's up?
capital flow, me personally, I use it on a daily basis. I basically use it every day.
Mhm.
So my technique and strategy with it is I usually open in the beginning of the week. I start basically like a top-down analysis, I guess. So I start at the million, and I see what orders has been put in on each level all the way down, and try to compare them to. I guess the 2,500 would be the retail traders, correct? On the filter premium minimum.
Right, right. Yeah. And I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna get to your question, man. But y'all can see we just hit this first target on SPY. You know, if you average down with me, you're up just under 20%. That's a solid move. So you can feel free to go ahead and trim some there if you would like. Finally got that move to the downside. But yeah, I just wanted to manage the play real quick. So
No, you good. So is that a good technique, or should I start from the 25 and go up?
Well, it's kind of for me, I like to start small because I want to start by seeing everything. And then, like I said, I kind of look at it as you overlook everything, and then I kind of zoom into what I want. So I look at the overall flow, I look at where all the money's going, and then I'll zoom in on the tickers that I want, zoom in on the the expirations, and then the minimum premiums and all that. I kind of like to start by looking at everything just so I can get an overall picture. You know what I mean? But then I zoom in because I want to focus on what I want to focus on. But if you just want to start with what you already want to focus on, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Because there's a lot of information that it's kind of irrelevant to you when it comes to actually getting in the trade. So there's no reason to look at it unless you just want to get a overall picture, which is what I do. But if you already know what you want to see, then by all means you can just start with it and tune out the rest of the noise.
Gotcha.
So that is a really great real-time example of how you use options flow with the technicals. You get your support and resistance levels, you look for where we're going to reject, or you look for where the trend is going to continue at. You can scale in, you start to average in, but most importantly, just stay patient. The patience has been paying off for us this morning as we finally got that break below VWAP. And it was a big move. Like I said, once we get below VWAP, we'll probably get to this SMA pretty quick. So it played out exactly, how I expected. We got below VWAP, right? We touched this SMA, the 100-day, which is this purple line, and now we're bouncing off of it. I am still going to look to see where this candle closes. It's got about 45 seconds left. So I want to see if it ends up being a solid bounce, or if we keep pushing lower from here and can get some more out of this trade. Okay, we're making good money. This is good money. This is good money. This is why we stay patient, y'all. That's why we stay patient. Yep. Break down some more, SPY. So again, this was the first target. If you bought multiple contracts while we're still sitting right here, you can feel free to lock in some profits and then leave some contracts open as runners as we see if we continue to move lower. I know we've kind of been looking at this chart for a long time, and we already hit our first target from where we're at. Gave that real-time example, so I'm not going to still stay on this trading view screen for too much longer. We're not going to watch the charts all day on here, but I'll definitely still answer some questions if you have them. But if not, then I'm gonna give it maybe 1 or 2 more candles before I go ahead and get off of the screen. So do y'all have any more questions for me on capital flow?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. So another reminder. So for those of y'all that are using capital flow, that use it every day, use it religiously. I know there's a lot of y'all that do, and we really appreciate y'all. If you ever have any feedback, I would really love to hear it. A lot of the features that we put on Capital Flow are really just based off of user feedback. This is something that's kind of built for the people by the people. So y'all's input definitely means a lot when it comes to building these things out, man. We would really love to hear what y'all have to say and how we can make Capital Flow better or what you already like about it. That you think, maybe we can kind of double down on what you already like. Whatever your feedback is, we really would love to hear it. So don't ever hesitate to send that in to me if you have it. That was a pretty strong bounce off of this 100. So for me, confirmation that we are still in the downtrend would be a rejection now to the downside of this VWAP, which we're testing right now. So before we were getting bounces off of the VWAP to the upside, we broke below it. So I would need to see a 5-minute candle close below VWAP for confirmation of the downtrend continuation. And we'll just kind of see where this candle closes. We already hit our first target on that SPY. So we're just playing with profits at this point. So we'll just see where this candle closes, and then we'll go ahead and look to wrap it up for now. It's been almost an hour. This one took a little while today. The one we did last week was we got that money, but some days it's gonna be quick. You come in, you get that money. Some days it's like this. You gotta stay patient, but as long as you're making money, that's the goal. Of course, everybody wants to make the money as fast as possible. That's not always going to be the case. So I'm actually glad I got to show y'all back to back. Last week it was quick. This week it took a little bit of patience, but both times we still made some money. So it's not going to look the same every single day. So I'm kind of glad we got this little bit of a slower move today.
So can I ask a question about so like when you was playing this, you weren't playing it by percentage as far as your stop loss. Your stop loss was at 394.77 level, like a close above that. If we, trying to grow a small account and that 394 level is like, that's like 30% for us. Do we go with our 20% stop loss and get out the trade and just get back in on the way down? Or should, when do you decide whether like to go percentage or like area?
So if you're on a small account, you need to use conservative stop losses, right? Because you don't have a lot of money to work with, so you can't afford to be taking 40-50% losses. Like when you hit that stop loss, and when I say conservative, I mean like 20-25% at the most on a small account. So when you do hit that stop loss, you want to just go ahead and cut it. If you let losers run on a small account, that's how you get wrecked and end up with zero. Now, once you grow your account a little bit more, then you can kind of get to that point where, okay, you might be able to take a 30% drawdown and kind of look to average in and things like that, because you got a little bit more capital to work with. But if you don't really have a lot of working capital, you gotta be willing to cut those losses quick, no matter what the situation is.
All right, sounds good. Because the thing is, I got in this trade with you, and that's what happened. Like I got stopped out, but then I got back in, and I ended up making some money off the trade. But it's like I made it back. But that's why I was just asking about like.
Yeah. So timing is another thing that matters a lot when you have a small account, because when you're working with a little bit more size in your account, you can kind of scale in, and you might not get the perfect entry, but you might can average in, which is exactly what I did with this trade, right? But if you have a small account, you're really going to want that perfect entry. I think when I got in, I believe was on this green candle here. You know, there was a better entry on this candle where you see this rejection, this clear rejection of this 200. You could have got slightly better entries. They weren't that much better, but it still makes a big difference, especially, you know, when you're trading same day or weekly expiration. So, you know, you want to make sure you can get the most ideal entry possible when you're working with a small account too. The way I kind of signaled this trade for today was not necessarily a great small account entry, but you did a good job of managing it and, you know, kind of cutting it and getting back in and still making some profit there.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So it looks like we got above VWAP. So we got our money, but these runners didn't do much. I'm going to go ahead and get out of these. No point in still sitting around in them. So at this point, stop the screen share. So did y'all get in the spy with me? Y'all make some money there? Anybody else? Go to block and sweep orders. Right now, sellers not red. So blocks are orders that are negotiated outside of public exchanges. So those are privately negotiated orders. So those are the orders that you can expect to be coming from institutions. And sweeps are large orders that get broken up into smaller orders. So sweeps kind of represent a sense of urgency, because if there's a sweep and they're going with a bunch of small orders instead of one large one, it's so that they can get in quicker. It takes a little bit longer to get filled on a super big order. So if you just break it up in a bunch of smaller orders, you can get in quicker. So sweeps means they're trying to get in fast, which indicates that a move could be coming really soon. And block orders indicate that there could be that trade could be based off some type of inside information that the rest of the public doesn't have access to. Yeah, no problem, no problem. So what did y'all think of the Zoom? You know, let me know your thoughts, your feedback. Was this helpful? You feel like you learned something? You know, did you have any more questions? What do y'all think?
I enjoyed it. I've been using Flow for a minute, so, you know, I feel like it's a very helpful tool. And like I said, just talking to the people I feel like who have made a living off of it, because that's what I'm trying to do as well. Like, I always, you know, I try to use y'all as much, not in a bad way, but like, you know, y'all are a resource for me. Y'all putting yourself out there to be a resource to help people learn this skill. So I definitely, you know, I take advantage of that. So yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. And, you know, definitely use us as resources. You know, that's what we're here for. You know, this is, you know, like we're traders, but we're businessmen also, and our business is helping other people get started with their trading. So, you know, definitely use the source. You know, you already know we got a lot of tools available that you can use, you know, at any time with your trading journey, man. So we're here for you for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording here because it's been about an hour. I want to upload this, but I don't want it to like drag. So we'll stop